Hello, everybody. Welcome into a Wednesday edition of the Computer America Show. Hopefully, we're recovering from CES. Last night was a fun program. We've got Mike Cermak, host, owner, operator of TechGuy.org, is here with us for the first hour, and we're going to be talking about we're going to be talking about URL redirects and HTML coding and scripts.
2 minutes until showtime.
We're going to be talking about all that, and if you're not sure what that is, well, we'll explain it to you. And then in the second hour, we're going to have computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and we'll be starting shortly. Is that your TV I hear, Ben, in the background?
Yeah, probably. 1 second.
Yeah, I need to mute that.
I was going to try and defend him real quick because shortly after you started speaking, my computer started speaking because I was on the chat page. And I was like, no, it's not Ben's fault, it's my fault. But
yeah, that reminds me, you got to be careful. Don't be on the if you're on the chat page, it now automatically the script starts up and you have to stop it and then go into the chat room. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I tried to stop it earlier, but I don't think maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I could stop it before it started.
You can't stop it, and I just tried muting the page, before we even started.
1 minute until showtime.
And then it unmuted itself, so not even that works.
Wow. Well, then maybe
there's just no way to get rid of Craig's voice.
Yeah. Breaks all barriers.
It's like a virus.
I wonder if that's going to cause a complication. Not with us. Well, yeah.
Well,
No,
I mean,
I
if
don't
you're
think
if you tell everyone to join the chat room, then you're gonna have to tell them beforehand.
If
Get ready to mute it.
guest wants to join the chat room, yeah.
Well, and they can just mute their. Well, I guess they can't if they're talking through Skype.
Yeah.
You'll have to talk to a tech person about that. I don't know.
Come up with something.
You need a tech guy to help with that one.
Yeah, right.
It's hard to find.
All right, here we go.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello, and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And, boy, I'm still recovering from last night's show at CES. That was a lot of fun.
I know, you did so much traveling. I'm surprised you're still awake and not jet-lagged. It's crazy.
Well, I'm not jet-lagged because when I came back, you see, I'm in the same place where I started, so it was only for the day. So,
Sure.
But we had Charles Tendell, our co-host, out there. And let's see, we had Sandy Berger, and we had Grayson Hamilton, and Josh Boykin. We had just a whole bunch of people. We had a lot of our correspondents. Even David Perry managed to stop in for a brief moment and say hello. And
we emphasize brief. Like, if you try to go back and find David Perry's appearance, it is literally 10 seconds. So good luck with that.
Pretty much. But, listen, hey, he did say he was going to show up. And, of course, we have that available now on our you can actually see it, listen to it, and watch it on our video page. And that's up there now in our archive section. Let me just get this out of the way. If you want to call or speak with us tonight, you can do so. Just give us a call at 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. We'll get you on and get you through. Email is live, L-I-V-E, at computeramerica.com. You can also join us in our live interactive chat room just from our homepage at computeramerica.com. Click the button right in the middle there. It says Chat and Live Video. It'll take you to a split screen on the left-hand side there. You'll see our chat room. You put in a username. Just follow the instructions. Click the connect button, and your browser will move you into the chat room. You can also watch our show. Not only listen to it, but you can actually watch our show on our live Computer America video streaming, which shares the same page as the chat room, and it's all there. So it's just head over there, check it out, and you have lots of ways to interact with us here on Computer America. Now, in this first hour, it is the first Wednesday of the month. That means it's our open mic night. Our guest is Mike Cermak. He is the owner-operator of TechGuy.org, which is a website dedicated to helping others with their computer problems and answering their questions. So if you're looking for free tech support, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, TechGuy.org is the right place for you to be. It's been around since 1996, and Mike's site is run completely by volunteers and paid for completely by donations and sponsors. And as I said, Mike is also one of our Computer America correspondents who appears here on every first Wednesday of the month. Mike, welcome into Computer America. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing this evening?
We're just having
Doing good.
I'm scratching my head here. They're telling me that my video on here is square instead of widescreen, but on my computer it shows as widescreen.
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
Maybe I just think you're square.
Yeah, I see you a widescreen as well.
Oh, you do? Good, so I don't feel so bad. People always say that I'm square, but I thought that...
Yeah, no, you have a widescreen. I can see your entire lower third. I mean,
right. So I'm seeing out to here. Anyhow, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well,
one of the mysteries of the internet.
Well, what it is, when I look at your screen and I look at Ben's screen here,
there are so many different webcams. I would not be surprised if yours is actually in a different ratio than mine.
Yeah, it is because I can see it's letterbox. I can see black on each side of your video, Mike. Whereas
interesting.
I don't. Yeah. Well,
that's weird. Again, it's probably the webcam.
Yeah, it could be the webcam. It could be, I don't know, I'm not sure.
You would think there'd be some webcam settings somewhere in here. Anyhow, I'll have to play around.
Well, yeah, you're the tech guy. You should play with it.
Yeah, do you know any good tech sites where I can find support for my webcam?
Exactly.
This one, techdude. Something? I don't know.
Oh, you're fired.
Well, here we are.
I just remembered. I got to go turn off a website I built for Craig. Give me just a second here.
Exactly right. It'll come crashing down. Now, Mike has been with Computer America for a long time. I don't know how many years you've been with us, and from time to time, Mike will do some little tweaks that we need. We used to be a real pain in the side because he was running our website 24/7. And finally we switched over to Wix, and we're actually in our second generation of the website, so we didn't worry about that. But we came up against the problem, and I thought it would also be a good topic for the show, kind of discussing what he did. One of the things that we're going to talk about here tonight is URL redirects, and we're going to talk a little bit about HTML coding and scripts. So it's going to be a little more techy, but we'll try to keep it in English where you can understand it if you need to. But we sometimes get really techy, and hey, because we're Computer America, sometimes we're very light, sometimes we lay it on thick, and tonight we're going to lay it on a little thicker than we normally do, but that's okay, because as I said, if you have a comment or question, give us a call, 347-884-8881. If you don't understand something, we'll try to help you out. So here was the problem. Oh, by the way, Mike's got a quiz for us too.
I do.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
did you study up, Ben?
I didn't study.
Oh, see, what a slacker.
Pop quiz. Pop quiz. All right. Well, here's the thing. One of the things that is available, if you have a URL, that's the website, the direction you type it into your browser window. Ours is www.computeramerica.com. You can also put in computeramerica.com. You don't need the 3 W's if you don't want to. Or you can type in http:// www.
The greatest invention by man, getting rid of the W's.
Yeah, you don't need the W. You need the http:// but you can put them in if you want. However, if your website or a website that you want to go to has a very long name, it's a lot of typing, and you would like to have you would like to type in less characters to go to your website, or if you want to give out a link to someone in the email and you don't want to give them this very long link your website, and if it has a long link, you can shorten it. Now, there are some websites out that will do this for you that are free. There's something called TinyURL. I think it's tiny.url is one of them. Snippet.com is another one. There are a number of them out there.
Google has their own as well.
Google has its own. Yeah, that's another. Yes, which I checked, by the way. Google has its own.
I do too.
Google has its own. But here's the problem. I mean, and for the most part, it's all most people need. I mean, it does it. But if you want to, how should I get a little creative and do something? You want to do a little more. I've only found one place that would do it, and even then, that place was unreliable when you did it. It just didn't work all the time. So, and that is, wouldn't it be nice if you could give out the same short link to different people, and they would have that one link, but you could redirect them not only to the same place, but you can go into an editor and change the place where that short link goes to. And I can think of many examples of why you'd want to do that.
Witchcraft, yes, that's.
Yeah.
I can understand why you can only find one site.
Yeah, I mean, if you have, let's say you have a YouTube video and you want people to, and you give them this short URL to the YouTube video, but then you want to change it to a different topic the next day, and you want people, and you don't want to have to send out that short URL to everybody. Say, okay, here's a different one now, so you can look at the new video. Wouldn't it be nice if they could just click on the same thing and it would redirect them to whatever website or video that you want? And
it could be used for a lot of things. If there's a most recent version of a PDF or most recent episode of a podcast or whatever, you could have it redirect to whatever the most recent one is.
Right, and without them having to change. They would go to the same place over and over.
Without having to give them a new URL each time.
No new link. The same link would send them to different places that you would control so they could see what it is, that the content that you wanted them to see. And that is virtually... But I only found one service that would do it, and that was SnipURL, and even then it was iffy at best because you would change it and it still wouldn't work, and after you waited a while, then maybe it would work and maybe it wouldn't. I think it was like going through the DNS server, and it took time to go through all the different DNS
caching.
Yeah, caching, and it was. It was
well, it makes sense why it would be hard to do. I mean, it's a URL is a very unique thing. Mm-hmm. And when you try to send it to multiple places, it can get complicated.
Well, and I think the other side of it is I think some of these URL shorteners decided not to do that because they didn't want people to abuse it. They don't want you to link saying, hey, check out this cool article, and a bunch of people share it, and then you redirect it to some advertisement or some malicious software. Or people give people power, and they'll find a way to abuse it.
Yeah, that's very true. But for us honest people, or we don't want to abuse it. We want a simple way to do something. It proved to be very complex, and so someone suggested, Aaron actually suggested that I ask Mike, and I went, that's a great idea, He's probably
Craig calls me and he says, Mike, have I told you recently how wonderful you are and how much we appreciate you and how... I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
And how handsome and smart you are.
Yes. My wife tries to do the same trick.
And it works, too, doesn't it?
And I quickly hung up, but then he called me back on the other line.
Yes, begging, please. So I said to Mike, how long would it take you to do that? I mean, he also went. You try to find a URL.
Yeah, surely there's a service that already does this, right?
And so we hit Google. We checked everywhere. Google actually has one. GoDaddy, I thought, had one, but everybody I contacted and spoke with said, well, we don't really do it. We don't have that ability. And I said, well, gee, you should. I'm the only person in the world that wants something like this. So I said, Mike, we need to do this because we have networks. They don't want to have to go in and change it every day. It would be nice if they just had the same link and it would go to the live broadcast and I could just change it for them and they wouldn't have to do a darn thing. Wouldn't that be nice? I said, how long would it take you to do that? And there was a momentary pause. He said, about 15 minutes.
What I should have said is, what's it worth to you?
Yeah, exactly.
Days.
Yeah,
hard coding.
Yeah, really hard coding. So he says, yeah, I think I can write a script, and I said, and I can do it in about 15 minutes. So I'd like our listeners to hear basically, what the process is of doing something like this, because as I said, if you ever have a need for this, because, for example, we also use Wix to develop our website, and Wix allows you to embed
HTML code snippets.
Yeah, snippets, right? You can put them in there. And my next thought was, well, if I can get some sort of a thing where I can keep the same redirect, a short redirect, and I can change where it's going to, I could put that redirect even in the HTML snippet on our website, so I would only have to change it once. So anybody the website would also be automatically updated to the new URL just by putting in that tiny URL. Anybody who put it in, it would work in the website. And sure enough, it would work. I mean, you can do something like that, and it's possible. But I had to ask Mike, what do we have?
And it's really fun to do that kind of thing, where you can go in there and write, a couple lines of code and save, maybe it only took you 5 or 10 minutes every day to do this, but still, that's, cumulative over, months. That's going to save you a fair amount of time.
But not only me, it's the networks that
right.
They don't want to be bothered my sending them a new, even if it's a tiny, I have to send it to them. They have to have an intern to load it in and do that, or they have.
I put an intern out of a job. I tell you.
Well, they have
you saved an intern some time.
The board op, whoever's going to do it, has to do that. And this will. They don't have to do that anymore. They love it. They don't have to do anything. I mean, they put it in one time, hard-coded into their automation system, and then they never have to change it because I can control it. And it's great for me because with one URL, with one command, I can put in the URL, and it goes to all the networks that carry the show. And so it's just it's a real blessing to have something like that. So now to do this, well, you were using HTML, or you were using something called scripts. So explain a little bit what the difference is.
Yeah, sure. Well, there's lots of ways that you can program for the internet. HTML is the basic layer that the browser sees. So anything you write online, any kind of web development you do, uses HTML. But the scripts are what generates that HTML. So the script that I use is written in PHP, and that's one of the most common ones out there. Most websites are written in PHP. Certainly not all of them. There's a couple others, ASP, which is by Microsoft, and CGI is an old one some people use, like Perl. But PHP is very, very popular right now. That's what the majority of programs are written in. And yeah, and that lets you go in there and write programs. And you can write database programs or chat sites or whatever kind of website you want, e-commerce. A lot of e-commerce sites are written in PHP. And in this case, this was just a real simple, I mean, you'd probably laugh if you looked at the code. Maybe I'll have to post some of it, but it's probably all of 20 lines for the main part of the program. It's not long. And a lot of that was just to defeat caching, and I can talk about that too. So basically all I did is I gave Craig a form that he can go into and put in whatever URL he wants this to point to and type in his password, and then it'll update it. And it just writes to a little file on the server, and then whenever anyone visits that URL, it redirects them to whatever URL that Craig has programmed into it.
Right, and that URL, of course, is the live streaming for the current day, because every day that changes, because we have a YouTube channel, and then the current day gets put into our video archives. And of course, if that didn't change, then someone click on it, it would go to the previous day. It would go to that one archive, and it would always stay that way. We needed a way to update it to the current one. So when I type in I create the next Hangouts. All I do is, after I create that Hangouts, take that URL, put it into the little editor that Mike gave me. I clicked it, and it's done. And then and that's all. And the same URL that the networks have, anybody that gets updated and changed. So nobody has to do anything. I have full control over it, and it's a really very simple and an elegant way of doing it, I would think, because not only does it change the networks, it changes it on the website, because we've also written the HTML script code on the little insert that we did to look at that same pointer, correct?
Yep, right. And that was a little fun. I did a little search and replace that it does in there. So whenever you post your YouTube URL in there, that embed script searches for it and modifies it to be in the embed code and the autoplay and whatever other options you want in your URL, and adds that into it for you, so you don't even have to worry about messing with that anymore.
Yeah, it's automation. That, I mean, you could do it manually, but to coordinate all the different people to do it, why? When you can make it with just a simple script, and make it so
And that's why the internet exists. Is I do it all manually.
Well, and a lot of
We
people
don't like to work too hard.
Yeah, you want to do it, and you want to tweak and play with it, right? But when you get into the business of the internet, I mean, we're dealing with networks and people. Time is money. People is money. They don't want it. They want to make it the simplest, hands-free automation that they can do. They don't want people having to change it. And something like this makes it completely simple. They don't have to do anything. They just put it in. They put that piece of code in one time with that link, and they don't have to worry about it ever again, because of scripting and HTML. HTML, of course, hypertext markup language, and HTML now is in version 5, HTML5, which has now been ratified and it's through. HTML5 adds a lot of more robust things that you can do with the language. I mean, I understand HTML5 will actually can replace Java and replace Flash. You can actually do all the things that you could do with those add-ons. Why? Every time, it's like anything else. Every time, let's say you have a car and you want the car. Oh, I don't know. You want to add cruise control after the fact, and you want to add a device that will crank your car over so it'll warm it up. You can add another device for that. You can keep adding devices. But wouldn't it be nice if it was just all built into the car initially, and you don't have to add those? Well, that's what HTML5 is doing. It's taking all these different elements of coding and languages and saying you don't need that anymore. Just use HTML5.
And standardizing that across platforms makes it real nice, so that you don't have to worry about installing Flash plugins on this or that, or whether the Apple iPhones or iPads support it or don't support it, or standardization on that kind of thing is nice. Although it's not perfect even across browsers. Any web developer will tell you what a headache that can be to try and get it to a site to look the same with the same HTML code on Firefox and Internet Explorer and Chrome and Safari and mobile devices, and it never quite is always the same. But it's a good goal.
Now, learning when you want to learn this stuff, or just enough to make yourself dangerous, I guess, you start off with HTML, or do you do the PHP?
Yeah. Now, you've got to start with HTML. You've got to know the basics there, because the PHP is really just going to generate the HTML.
Yeah.
So you've got to know the HTML first, or at least the basics of it, and then you get into the back-end stuff, into PHP. And one of the things we were doing in this case was to redirect you to another URL. There's actually a redirect command in PHP you can use to redirect the user to a different URL. There's what's called HTTP codes. So whenever you go to visit a website, you get an HTTP code, which is usually 200, which is just everything went okay, here's your data. Sometimes you get an HTTP code 404. Which, of course, we've all seen.
Yeah.
Not found, right? Or maybe you'll get an HTTP code 500, that there was an internal server error. But there's also a redirect HTTP code. So I'm sending an HTTP code 301 or 302, which tells them that, I got your request, but you actually want to go over here. It's like a mail forwarder kind of thing. And so that's basically what we're using, just pointing them to the other URL.
Now, when you do something like this, you don't have to deal with things like the domain name server and DNS and the filtering down. Describe that process for first of all, when you type in computeramerica.com, those are letters, and computers don't really understand letters. They only understand numbers and IP addresses, right? So you need to take computeramerica.com and convert it to a numerical address, and that's what the domain name server does, right?
Right, that's right, yeah. So networks by design, IP networks like the internet, and even networks, local area networks, talk to each computer by IP address. So your computer may be 192.168. whatever, and another one will be 205. whatever. And so they know each other by number. So what DNS does is, exactly what Craig said, is it changes it so it's a little bit easier for humans to use. You can go in there and type in google.com instead of 8.8.8.8 or whatever their IP address is. It's not much fun to type in IP addresses as a human.
No, it's not. No.
So, but it takes a lot of time, especially if you multiply that out across a lot of computers, to do those lookups. So if you want to look at a website and it refers to images on another server and it redirects you somewhere else, your computer could spend a couple of seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that can add up, trying to look up what the IP addresses are of each of these names. So Computer America is whatever IP address. So your computer will actually cache that, and the server upstream from you, your internet provider, will usually cache that as well. So whenever you look and say, your computer says, what's the IP address of Computer America, your internet provider will find out what it is, and usually they'll hold on to that for a couple of minutes or sometimes a couple of hours, so that if you or anyone else on your internet provider asks for that IP address, they can say, oh yeah, sure, we have it right here. We don't even have to go look it up first. So it saves some processing, saves some resources, saves some bandwidth, but the result of that then is that if that IP address changes in those couple of minutes or couple of hours, that everyone may not know about it right away. It takes some time for that to propagate across the internet, and that causes lots of trouble, especially when you're migrating websites from one server to another. That propagation time for the DNS to update can be a real headache.
Typically, it takes what? It can take a few hours. Literally?
It can. It depends a lot on the ISP, and it also depends on the DNS settings. You can actually set on your DNS server how long they'll cache, and you can give recommendations to others who are getting your DNS to hold it only for a maximum time to live time at what's called a TTL. Not all of them listen to that, but you can.
Okay.
But typically, if we're migrating a site, we'll typically tell people it may take 4 to 8 hours. For some small ISPs who don't update frequently, it can take even longer. But most major ones, Comcast and Time Warner, and those are usually pretty good about updating. Usually within a couple of minutes, they'll pick it up if you have things done correctly.
Got it. All right. And that's what I believe was happening with this URL shortener that I was trying to use. I would go ahead, and it would work fine, and then I would go in. It had the little editor that would allow me to change the URL to where the short URL was redirecting, and I would do it, and it wouldn't work. And then I came back maybe an hour or two later, and then it would work. Which
and there could be a couple things going on there, actually. There's going to be page caching probably on their side, but also on your side. Whenever your computer, your web browser visits a page, you have your temporary internet files in there and your cache on your browser. So your computer downloads all that stuff, saves it on your hard drive, and then renders it, then displays it. So it could be that whenever it's going back to that URL, it's not even checking to see if it's changed. It could be just saying, oh yeah, I already looked at this recently. I'm not even going to bother with it.
Is there any way for a person to turn that caching off on a browser? Because that can get in the way sometimes, can't it?
It can, yeah, and you can turn caching off entirely on your browser, but that's just kills your performance. Then every little page and every image and all of that has to be re-downloaded every time you visit a page. For example, if you go to ComputerAmerica.com, you've got the logo in the corner that downloads and the red bar across the top that downloads and the buttons that download. Yep. And then if you go to another page on Computer America, all of that would have to download again instead of already being on your computer.
So the purpose of the cache is to make things run more quickly, obviously.
Right. And save bandwidth.
In the days of dial-up, that was critical, but with broadband today, is it really that important?
It's not as critical from the user's perspective, because most people if you have 1 or 5 or 10 or 100 megabit connection to the internet, you don't really care about downloading a couple images over and over again. It might make a second or two delay, and that is noticeable. But the bigger thing is, from the server's point of view, that can make a huge difference. If you have every user downloading the image 50 times instead of once, that can greatly, that you're going to have 50 times more bandwidth that you're using and 50 times more requests on your server. So that can really multiply. You imagine Google, everyone going to Google right now, they're caching that image. You don't download the Google logo every time. You download it once and your computer caches it. And you can imagine all the people going to Google every time having to download that. Google could handle it, certainly, but they would have to put a couple more servers on just for that.
Wow. Yeah, it's interesting because once in a while when I've had my internet service go down and I wasn't aware of it, and I would go to Google and the page would pop up. I was not even aware.
That's right.
And then I would go to a place like I go to. That would be fine too. And then when I deviated, all of a sudden it wouldn't work right. And I have no idea that I've lost my internet connection, but I'm getting all the stuff.
Yep. And it's all already on your computer. It's exactly right. So a lot of times when I'm testing an internet connection, I'll go to Google and I'll search for something I've never searched for before. I'll go in there and search for Craig Crossman. No, I search for him all the time. But, search for something you haven't searched for before and then see if it'll give you results or not. That'll tell you.
Yeah.
But so what I did with your script to prevent that, because then we would be facing the same problem. People go to that URL and that would be cached. So there's actually code you can put in PHP to tell the browser not to cache this page. And that's used sometimes by banks and encrypted sites and things like that.
My bank, I had to put in every single time, and and it's annoying, but now you can understand why. So some pages that are really security-minded, they want to make sure each time that you're putting in the proper codes. There's a way that they can actually turn that off through your HTML or PHP to turn that off. You have to actually put that in. Some of them take it to the point where you can't even use most browsers have the ability to memorize, forms or passwords or something. You can say, you'll go to some of these pages, it won't say, "Oh, would you like me to remember that?" It won't ask you to remember the password. They turn it off.
That's right. They can do that. They can request the browser not to allow form saves or password saves on a particular page. And it's interesting you mentioned that. I was just dealing with that here over the last couple of days. LogMeIn is a pretty popular service a lot of people use. And they recently changed theirs so that you don't even type in a password. If you go in and log into your account and go to a computer, it asks for that computer's account password. And it doesn't ask you to type it in. It's drop-down boxes. It'll have like blank, 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 blank. And you have to choose your password on these drop-down boxes so that it can't easily be saved. And then the other side of that also is that if you happen to have a virus that has a keyboard monitor or keyboard logger on it, then you're not typing it in for it to be able to remember it. It's a lot harder for it to catch it through mouse clicks.
I went to one site and their password, the security was they put up a little picture of a baby and there were little things floating around. And so, like 2 or 3 of them were food items and the rest were not. And it said feed the baby the food item. So I dragged the item of the baby.
So you gave him a hamburger and you're able to get in.
Yeah, and then when you do the right one, then they said, "Okay, you're human, we'll let you in." But I had never seen that before. But there it was. So people can get very creative with this stuff.
That's right. Well, and that's more like a CAPTCHA. I think we talked about that a little bit a couple months ago about the Google reCAPTCHA that they're working on rebuilding, and that's a whole interesting area as well about trying to figure out whether someone's a robot or not.
Yeah.
And that's a good way of doing it because that's hard for computers to figure out.
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to the OCR stuff that computers are now better at than people.
Right, exactly. But you put a banana and some grapes and a turtle, you don't know what's the food. And so,
it's harder to figure, and if it can figure it out using something like Google Images and trying to relate it, takes it a lot more resources to do it. It's not like an OCR. Google said that they had a program that could break their OCR, their CAPTCHA codes, with like 98% accuracy.
Oh boy!
And I remember thinking, I can't solve them with 98% accuracy. I usually have to try 2 or 3 times to figure them out. I'm like, I don't know.
You're listening to the Computer America Show on the Blog Talk Radio Network, on the Boost Radio Network, on the IRN Radio Network. Mike Cermak as our guest this hour. We're talking about HTML coding and URL redirects. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hey everyone, have you heard about the No Hair Removal device that's sweeping the globe? If you want to go weeks without shaving and get smooth, professional quality results, here's our favorite host, Cheryl, for No Hair Removal.
Thanks. Hey gals, I love talking about my No. It's this cute little hair removal system that you can take with you and use almost anywhere at home or on the road. No more expensive in-office treatments, painful waxing, and no more wasting your valuable time. Got unwanted facial hair? No has patented Thermocon technology that works on all hair and skin colors, so it's perfect for using on all body parts. And now you can take advantage of this incredible risk-free trial. Get the No, the facial kit, a travel case, and a $100 discount shopping card, and you don't risk a penny to try it. Try the incredible No hair completely risk-free. Call 1-800-953-5415. That's 800-953-5415. 800-953-5415.
Without shaving.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
What do you know? You made it. This is Marty Winston with a news tips bulletin review for Computer America. This time, the iCoffee Opus Brewer. Remington Designs sent their iCoffee Opus single-serve brewer, and we're impressed. Its water reservoir holds 75 ounces, so we get more cups per fill, except that we can fill cups more with 17 choices in half-ounce increments from 4 to 12 ounces. Our current brewer only offers 5 size choices. Its drip tray is held by a magnet, and when you slide it out, you can fill a tall travel tumbler. The coffee chamber can hold any K-cup, including the new interactive ones, and it comes with an adapter for making non-K-cup brews. The coolest tech in this is that steam and hot water feed into the K-cup chamber through a spinning needle injector, so every part of the content of the K-cup contributes. A 12-ounce cup of our favorite dark coffee didn't exhibit a whisper of being watered down. Heating becomes a standby function after 2 hours or on demand, saving energy. Bottom line, the iCoffee Opus single-serving brewer from Remington Designs gives us more choices, more convenience, and in many cases, a better cup of coffee. This is Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. It's 34 minutes past the hour. We have Mike Cermak here. We're talking, about some HTML stuff, some coding and whatnot, and we were just getting on to capture code, or we had a tangent. We were talking about capture codes for some reason, and and how pretty much in the near future you won't just see the fuzzy letters or the fuzzy numbers and ask to put them in anymore, but it could be, as something Craig was saying, which I guess culturally, if you feed your baby turtles, it's, it could be confusing, but it's something that's going to be obvious to people, but not obvious to, machines or you can't really even say machines, they're scripts.
Yeah, right. They really are, you're right.
We were talking about scripts, and you can't write a script for, which picture goes with which picture. It just doesn't, work.
No, it doesn't.
Yep, not easily. Like I said, if you have some reference that you can go to, like go into, have it do an automatic search for Google Images using that and find out what keywords are related, it's certainly doable, but it's going to be a lot of work.
A lot of work, yeah, exactly. And as technology marches on and computers become more and more intelligent, the algorithms become more sophisticated, we need to have things like this, because it used to be, just you put in funny letters and the computer had no way of reading it. But they're too clever now. They're getting around it. So we have to. It's like any kind of lock. I mean, come on. I mean, we just make locks, and they make things to pick the lock. So you make a better lock, and they make a better pick, and then and it's on and on and on. And I don't think it'll ever really be ending. Although I keep hearing that quantum computing is going to be the ultimate in security, because by the very nature of observing something, it changes. So, and basing security on quantum physics might be the ultimate uncrackable codes.
I think it's uncrackable because no one knows how the heck it works. So,
well, there is that, and I guess at a certain layer, you're right that it would be uncrackable, but you'd have to have some user interface built on top of that, and anytime you have people involved, there's ways to get around it.
That's true, but
the people out of it.
But the physics behind it, right? Exactly. The fact is that if you look at it, if it's observed, it in itself changes, and then you know that it's been changed. So they're saying that next generation of quantum computing or these techniques may be the final uncrackable solution.
But isn't that the thing, though? It's the technology is as secure as it's ever going to be. It's just the fact that humans deal with it in any capacity makes it unsecure.
Well,
I mean that's usually the problem.
Yeah, that's what Mike's like. You take the human element, you take people out of it, then then, of
Then
course,
everything's fine.
yeah, but
As
And then you get iRobot.
no one's using it exactly.
If we just get rid of all the people, we'll save, cure so many problems.
Yeah, that would do it. That would do it. Um, so I guess so. I wanted to kind of finish up the subject that we touched on so many different top things that we could access. But you said learning the HTML language really is the first. Get a primer on HTML5, and I would say just to be not super proficient, but to be able to use it. How much time you think invested to learn HTML5?
It varies because a lot of people have some basic HTML understanding already if they ever took a web development course in school or anything like that. I run into a lot of people who tell me that they created a basic stupid page back in the day and don't remember any of it now. But if you sit down and review it, you can understand the basics pretty easily. HTML is not a difficult language. Some people would say it's not even a programming language. It's just a markup. It's very, very simple. And it depends on what you want to do with it. If you just want to make a simple page that says "Hello World" and boldface it and make it in pretty colors, that's going to take you, a couple of minutes to figure out. If you want to do animations and some of these other things, certainly that takes longer. But there's a lot of cool sites where you can do that. Treehouse and Code Learning, and there's a lot of nice sites to help you do that, and some of them for free.
And you can actually work in it. And I use HTML5. I'll find myself using it in the most unexpected places. Like I'll be using a service, and I'll be writing. It was with the newsletter that we were developing, and when I hit the enter key or the return key, depending which platform you're using, Mac or PC, it wouldn't drop down to the next line, and it wouldn't do it. Wouldn't find. And I said, well, let me just try a less than a B, and nothing worked. It dropped it down to the next line. So the thing is actually using HTML code, and so I actually put the code right in the text, and it worked. So you'll find little things like that. Sometimes it just need to have a general working knowledge of this stuff, especially if you're trying to use sites and they might have little problems, and you can fix them with things like that. Now we were talking about the banks and able to defeat the browser, so they won't be able to put in the codes. It won't even come up with a suggestion. I remember I was interviewing RoboForm, and I said, well, how do you do with that? And they said, oh, we have ways around that. Our RoboForm doesn't work with it. So what are these ways? What are they talking about? Because he wouldn't get into details. What are they doing?
Sure. Well, it's actually surprisingly uninteresting. The way it works, the way that they prevent the browser from saving the password is they just send a bit of code along with their form saying, please don't save the password on this form. Mm-hmm. And so it's really a very simple matter to ignore that, if on the user side. Mm-hmm. It's similar with the caching. By default, the computer would cache it. I send a little piece of code saying, please don't cache this. I really don't know whether or not the user side is going to listen to that or not, but I hope that they do. So it's the same thing. RoboForm and others like it can choose whether or not to listen to those sites as to whether or not they want to have their passwords be saved.
Is this sort of like the Don't Track Me, that are built into browsers now? But it's let's turn on the Don't Track Me. They won't track me, but they can still track you.
It's somewhat similar. The Don't Track Me is kind of on the opposite side, where the user's trying to avoid the server side as opposed to the server side trying to direct the user side. But yeah, it's kind of a similar idea. It's funny. You can send the code and ask the other side to do something, but you have to trust on the other side to actually listen to what you're saying. And I'm not saying that RoboForm or anyone's doing anything wrong. I think it should be up to the user as to whether or not they are saving the password. I can understand making the recommendation not to, but I mean, come on, it's.
Yeah, I mean, how many passwords can you remember? It's convenient to have your browser or a password manager of some sort to remember the
password manager is the only way to go anymore. I mean, it really is. I've been playing with some of them recently. I don't know if you guys use any password managers, but I was looking at LastPass and 1Password, and I'm using 1Password right now, and I think I like it. LastPass was very good as well. So I
What-
haven't.
What do you like
completely
about
settled.
what did you like about this particular one over the other one?
Well, the other one I had a couple problems with just stability-wise. It crashed a lot and that sort of thing. And I've got to say, 1Password isn't perfect either. There are times where I click the little icon and nothing happens. And usually, of course, that's when I really need to get into whatever website I need to get into. and it's like, come on, you're stupid. And you have to go into Task Manager and close their program and reopen it. It's a hassle. And for a regular user, it'd really be a headache. They just have to reboot. So it's not perfectly stable, and it really needs to be. They need to fix those up. Both of them are a little guilty of that, I think. And
Is that something that's fixable? You would think.
yeah, certainly. I mean, I think it's just a matter of stabilizing the code a little bit, and so it doesn't. I don't know exactly what's causing them to do that, but certainly there are plugins that don't have that issue. So I think they just need to work on that a little bit. But I think I really like the idea of it though, because so what I do is I go into all of the different websites that I'd save my password, and I can click on that icon and have it save it. But what's even more important, or what's even better, is I can have it generate a password for each of those sites. So I have my password for LogMeIn and for Google and for Facebook and for Amazon and for whoever, and instead of having the same password for all of them, which I was guilty of, and I suspect one or two of your listeners may be guilty of, I instead go into this and have it generate a password for each one of those, and you can choose the complexity of that. So my password for Google now is going to be something like #143ABC. It's just gibberish. It's not anything I can remember.
Exactly.
But I don't have to. I click that little button and it types it in, but it's not anything that can be easily cracked either. So it makes it much more secure. It makes it a little easier on me because I don't even have to type in my dumb insecure password. So whenever it works, it's really, really great. Whenever it doesn't work, it's a real hassle. And the other times I found it's a real hassle is if I need to use someone else's computer to log in as me. If I want to log into Google or Facebook or whatever as me with my crazy password, then I have to bring up the 1Password app on my phone, look it up, and I can easily look it up and see what the password is, but because I chose to make them so difficult that I'm sitting there trying to type in this stupid 16-digit long, launch code with.
Don't they have a little thing where you can put it all in I think Robo has a flash drive or something where you can put it all there, so whatever computer you plug it in, it knows all your passwords for that moment, and then when you unplug it out, there's no record of all your passwords, correct?
I haven't looked at it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do. That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I wonder if RoboForm also has the password generator, because I really liked that. I bet they do.
Yeah,
I'm looking at their website now.
Yeah, it
generates strong passwords.
That's it. Yeah, and again, it's all on a flash drive, so you can put it on there, and then you take the flash drive wherever you go. You can leave it in your desktop computer at home, but you can take it with you, and you put it in. When you take it out, there's no record of anything. So
I might have to try RoboForm. I used it years and years ago before they were really a password manager, when they were just
it's
filling the form thing.
They have come a long way with it, so we've had.
I really am going to try it.
Yeah.
I think Google was the one that they were going to try to push for, like a master password. Like you log into your browser, and then everything that you would access from your browser would automatically log you in.
Yeah, and that's the way most of these work. Either it's LastPass or 1Password or RoboForm. They all have their master password that then unlocks all of your other crazy encrypted passwords. As long as you are using, for an example of Google, if you're using Chrome or if you have, 1Password or whatever installed on there. And it makes a lot of sense as long as, of course, your master password is secure, and as long as you never forget your master password.
Yeah.
Because if you do, then you're completely out of luck.
And that's one thing that you do remember, but you got to pick something that you're never going to forget. But Jack in the chat room has been using the RoboForm Portable, I believe they call it, and he's been using it for years. It works fine.
I really am going to sign up for that.
Yeah. Jonathan had an interesting quote. He says, "The greatest threat to security is laziness."
Yeah, that's accurate, huh?
Yeah,
that's true. But that reminds me, there was something. Another story I was going to mention about a security issue that happened, but I want to make sure we get our quiz in before we run out of time too.
Okay, all right.
There was an interesting security thing. I'll mention it real quick. There was a greeting card company. Maybe someone in the chat room knows, especially if they're in the UK. Can't remember the name of it now. It's a crazy name. Moonpig. Have you ever heard of Moonpig? Yeah, me neither.
No.
Apparently, it's a big thing in the UK. It's a big greeting card company, and they have apps that you can use to send greeting cards electronically to different people. And 13 months ago, or something like that, over a year ago, almost 2 years ago, I think, someone found a vulnerability in it that he could go in and see all of the names and addresses and phone numbers and email addresses of all of their users. And he reported it to them like a good hacker would, like Charles would tell him to. Yeah. And they didn't do anything, and so he reported again, and they didn't do anything. So after over a year, he came public with it and said, "Hey, listen, people don't know that they're being vulnerable here," and so this company turned off all of their apps as they investigate, and they made the statement saying that all of the passwords and credit card information were secure, which is true because they were encrypted, but all the other information was not. It took them over a year. I don't know, man. It's usually best practice. Most hackers, I'm sure Charles would say the same thing, will give you 30 or 60 days. They'll report it to you and say, hey, you guys got to do something 30 or 60 days, and I'm going public with this.
Exactly.
But, man, to wait over a year.
Yeah, well, of course, now security is much more in the forefront of the consciousness of even most corporations now. So I think that probably is less likely to happen. But, in today's world, although
you would hope so, but you hear stories like that, and it makes you wonder that I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so before we go into the quiz, I just wanted to again mention. So you say you should start with HTML coding, and then after you get that, if you find that you have a knack for it or do it, then go into the PHP.
Another one. And PHP is the one I would suggest going into. Like I said, there's a lot of other ones out there, ASP and a couple others. If there's some reason your company uses a different one, certainly you can look into that. But PHP is the most widely used one, so that's what I would suggest going into.
It's like programming languages. If you need to learn another one, chances are if you know one or two of the others, it's not that difficult to learn the differences. I had the
That's right.
I was learning programming languages, and I was learning Pascal, and then after that I had to pick up C, and I got confused as to where the semicolons were going to go because the languages were so similar. And I couldn't remember which language had the semicolon here in it. So there are some similarities, but you have to kind of weigh you well.
But you learn that, you get that mindset of programming in general, even across the different languages, and that really helps you, even when you're just using a program, just to have some concept of how this works. And I think that's very valuable. I think everyone should have some basic understanding of it.
I mean, nowadays the compilers that they use to no matter which language you use, the compilers, they're pretty well coded themselves, and they can interpret bad code left and right.
Yes, they can. That's
a lot of them can, depending on how much you muck it up.
Yeah, they can. They do. And of course, interpretive languages. I mean, my first language that I learned was BASIC. But
oh yeah, me too. I remember doing QW basic or QB. Was it QBasic and GW Basic?
Basic, yeah, right, exactly. And yep. AppleSoft, Integer Basic, and AppleSoft. Those were a lot of fun. They were interpreted because you could run them right then, and you didn't have to compile them.
Yep.
Those are fun. But you understand ideas. You learn concepts like loops and that type of thing, and recursive programming.
And that's valuable. I mean, I'm sure most schools now have some kind of programming in school, but man, that's just so valuable for people to learn.
Yes, it is. You should. I'll never forget. This woman says, "Well, why? I just don't need the word processing and everything. Why do I need? You don't. But if you're gonna use your computer a lot, it doesn't hurt to learn this stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, have an introduction to it. All right, so you have a quiz for us, and I know what's the score? Ben,
I don't think you want to ask that question.
I think Ben's ahead of me.
I think Ben is ahead of you. I think the overall score is we have 4 for Ben and 1 for Craig.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay.
So we'll see if the trend continues, huh?
Okay. All right. Well, go ahead. So what's the topic of this going to be this time?
Our topic is Happy New Year. This is the first time I've been on the show for the new year.
Yes, it is. Happy New Year.
2015. Happy New Year, guys.
Yes,
exactly. So I thought we'd do some questions about the new year.
All right. Good.
Are you prepared, Ben? Are you ready?
January 1st.
He's already ahead of you, Craig.
Yes.
All right. Actually, I think Craig's going to answer the first one first because I think he won the last one.
All right.
So, our first question, Craig.
Yes.
In binary, 2015 is a palindrome. It's the same in both directions. And it has only 1 0, which, of course, is in the middle. But how many ones does it have?
2015, the number 2.5?
2015.
2015. In binary. Okay, so you want to know how many ones it has?
I do.
Okay, well, it's an odd number, so it ends with a 1, obviously. Okay. I 1, 2, 4, 8 places.
Remember, the more you delay, the more time Ben has to Google it.
100.
2015. I mean, it's 1 and then 1 0 1 1. I mean, there has to be close to. I'm gonna say 40.
The correct answer is 10.
10.
Oh, 10.
10.
I way overshot that.
And
Yeah.
remember the way binary works is, as Craig said, the last one is going to be odd or even, and then it's a multiple of 2 and 4 and 8 and 16. So it only takes 11 places to say 2015.
Right, it's only 11 places. I overshot that too. All right. Okay.
I
So,
think you should get a bonus point for knowing the odd, though.
oh yeah. Yeah.
All right. So the UN has designated 2015 as the year of light. Of light. In what year was the UN established? And this is to Ben.
What year was the UN established?
I'll give you a hint. It wasn't 2015.
It wasn't 2015. Okay, so they've been around for more than a year.
That's true.
I'm gonna say, World War I. That was a big hubbub. So I'm bet you people started talking. I'm gonna say 1918.
And Craig?
What did you say? 1918?
Yep.
Do I see the reflection of Google in Craig's eyes?
Okay. I'll go ahead and say UN. 1919.
So that one's coming.
I forgot about our pattern. Yes, and the correct answer was 1945.
All right, wait.
Oh, World War II, not World War I.
You had the right idea, Ben, but I'm afraid Craig stole it from you.
That's okay. He can dig it. He can dig it.
It's one up each. Okay.
Craig, you were alive when that happened.
All of the guesses in the chat room are closer than either of you guys.
Yeah, that's,
Really?
they have Google readily available.
All right. According to the storyline of Doom, who remembers the Doom game?
Yes, I remember.
According to Doom, the Union Aerospace Corporation, or UAC, was founded in 2015, and they're the ones who accidentally opened the portals that released all the demons in Doom. So, in what year was Doom released?
Oh gosh,
Craig.
I would say 83, 84.
See, I was gonna say 85.
All right. I'm saying 84.
I remember when it came out, so it surely wasn't that long ago. It was actually 1993.
All right. Well, Ben, you won it.
So that's 2 for Ben, 1 for Craig. We're keeping this going back and forth. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Marty and Doc jumped back to 2015, or jumped forward to 2015, and Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah.
It had a budget of $40 million, but how much did it earn worldwide? What was its gross earnings worldwide? And that's to Ben.
See, I remember 1 was a smash hit, 2 flop, disappointment. I'm gonna say with $40 million, it raked in a total of $32 million.
And Craig?
I remember the last 2 were actually done at the same time, and then
That's right.
a couple of months later, so you could actually see. So they
Well,
did.
it's time travel. They could have done it whenever they wanted.
And how much did you say, Ben? What was your number?
2.
I'm gonna go one more than Ben said. How about that?
That's cheating. You got to come up with your own.
I said I said like 35 or something like that.
You said 32.
32.
I'll say 30. I'll say 35.
35. See, I like that you gave a little sportsmanship in there.
Yeah.
The correct answer was 331 million.
It actually went well. What?
It was.
It did very well.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's why I was surprised that Ben thought it was unsuccessful. But all 3 of
I
those
did.
are huge.
The third one was much more controversial than the second one, I
Western?
think. But it's interesting that Craig was off on his answer by almost 300 million, but was still the closest. I think that's kind of funny. And extra credit to Jonathan for knowing the exact date that they went to in 2015.
Yeah. Jack did it binary, but I don't know.
And he posted the binary. Jack did. Jack posted the binary. We got some nerds in the chat room.
2 each. Is that what it is? Where are we at? 2 each, right?
We are at 2 each. We're dead even, and we've got 3 questions remaining.
Okay.
Christopher Lloyd has been credited with nearly 200 TV and movie performances, but how many wives has he have?
Oh God, I wouldn't begin to know this at all.
It's to you, Craig.
1. I'll just say 1.
Oh, you think it's a trick question? I like that.
See, I don't know who the heck Christopher Lloyd is. So.
Oh, you don't know Doc? I'm from the back.
Oh, okay. Well, I
You lose a
name
point for
celebrity
not-
names escape me.
Yeah.
But you know, he seems like a real Casanova. I'm gonna say he's had 7. He looks like the man that would have 7.
Ooh, good.
At the same
Interesting.
time.
So I thought maybe you would think it was a trick question and you'd choose 0, but in fact the correct answer is 4,
Oh,
which means you were both off by 3.
Uh-oh.
that's a tough one.
So yeah, so we're going to skip that one, I guess, or we'll split the point.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, 2 more questions remaining. Isaac Asimov's short story Runaround takes place in 2015, and it was the first to explicitly present the 3 laws of robotics. In what year was it published?
64. 1964.
And Ben?
You correct said 64. I have no idea. I'm gonna say 53.
See how nice he does that, Craig? See how he doesn't go just one?
Yeah, I noticed that.
And the correct answer is 1942.
Wow. Okay, Ben. Got it.
Yeah, so Ben is in the lead by 1 point. It's 2
All
to
right.
3. And we're to our last question. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
Ready?
Computer programmers were kept busy getting ready for the new year in 1999 and 2000. How much money is estimated to have been spent in preparation of the Y2K?
Oh gosh. Well, Ben goes first because he won that one.
Yeah, and Y2K, I mean, big deal. Nothing came of it, or so people think, probably because of exhaustive preparation. I'm going to say an easy $2.5 billion.
$2.5 billion?
Billion dollars. I'm going big.
I'll just go with $2 billion.
The correct answer is $300 billion.
Oh my gosh!
Wow, I was way short.
but Ben wins.
That might be a new record for us, though, being off the answer by 200 and some billion, 298 billion, but yet still the closest.
So Ben wins it.
Oh, congratulations, Ben.
Craig does not apply reasoning to his. He says, I don't know, and then he shoots a dart at the dartboard.
Honestly, that's what I would do. How would you even try and get that one? Some of these, like Isaac Asimov, I had an idea of when he was writing his, and some of these I would have a guess, but that last one, I mean, you know.
Totally off the wall. And it was all that money was wasted, too. Never happened.
What? No.
Depends on your point of view. I mean, there certainly were some problems that happened as a result.
Yeah, but John,
There were some very interesting controversial ones in the UK that some of the tests on Down syndrome came back incorrect and resulted in pregnancies not being correctly. It was not good because part of it the calculation was the mother's age, and Y2K happened. Anyhow, it didn't calculate it properly.
It didn't bring the world down to its knees like everybody was saying.
No planes fell out of the sky, as far as I know.
It was not.
That's what we were all anticipating, the planes falling out of the skies.
That didn't happen.
That's what you get for lazy coding.
And there were some nuclear alarms that went off that actually weren't accurate. It was just Y2K bugs, but nothing serious. So, but hopefully the preparations helped. Who knows? We will never know.
Yeah. Well, Mike. Listen again. It's always a lot of fun having you here on the show, and I want to thank you so much for being with us here. This is the first show of the of 2015 for you, and
my pleasure.
And again, I want to thank you for the work that you did for the getting this all set up for
I'm glad. Hopefully that'll work well for you. I'll be interested to hear.
Yeah, I'll report back to you and let you know how it works. But I think I have the utmost confidence. Mike Cermak, owner operator of TechGuide.org. Thanks for being with us here tonight on our with 2015 the show of edition of the Computer America. Thanks for being here, Mike.
Have a good show. I'll see you.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye-bye. All right, coming up in hour 2, we're going to have computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities. They are the official optimization software of Computer America. We're just going to break for a second, and we'll be right back with another hour of the Computer America Show.
Broadcasting live. It's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America. Hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@ComputerAmerica.com.
Hello and welcome into hour 2 of the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And Mike, it's always fun having Mike on the show. I mean, really,
He's a nice guy.
A nice guy. He's fun.
Did
He's
you see his
knowledgeable.
winter beard? Did you see his winter beard? He has grown his hair to survive the harsh winters of. I think he lives in. Where's he live? Like Saskatchewan. Anyways, he lives somewhere.
Yeah.
And he has a nice full beard to complement his living style.
Yeah, exactly. And we didn't even talk about his new car. We'll have to do that next time. How that's working out for him.
I think it's just a rental till he can get his real car.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out when you get back here next. And Mike is thinking about going out to CES next year. Yeah, so maybe that'll happen. So anyhow, I said welcome into Hour 2 of the Computer America Show. You're listening to us on the Blog Talk Radio Network, the Boost Radio Network, the IRN Radio Network, and it's all working because thanks to Mike, he helped make it work. And we are live, and we're gonna. It's time for us to do some news stories. Is there anything you want to mention before we do some news tonight?
No.
Ben?
No. Oh. You hear me?
No.
Hello?
Oh. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear you.
No,
You're here.
We're good.
I hear you.
We're due.
Let's do some news, okay? Let's do it. Okay. No. Oh, good grief. Now it's. We will do the news momentarily. It's up here with my software.
I think your internet might be lagging.
So hopefully, there it is. Tonight's Computer and Technology News is brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. You can visit them at slimwareutilities.com to clean, speed up, and optimize your Windows system for free. That's right, everything at the Slimware Utilities website is completely free. They're not freemium models. You don't pay now and pay later to use them. The full versions, they don't work that way. Go to the slimwareutilities.com and download all of their utilities. We use them here at the Crossman household. They truly do clean, speed up, and optimize your Windows system. You'll be happy that you did it, and you'll thank us for it. slimwareutilities.com. And why don't you take the first story of our news for the year, Ben?
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I hear you fine.
All right, it's just thought there was some lag going on there. All right, well, there was some chat shit about the what qualifies as broadband, and for a while ago, broadband was qualified as anything above 6 megabits per second. And if you have used internet in the past, 5-6 years, you know that 6 megabits is not fast. That'll get you maybe a GIF, and that'll get you maybe a YouTube video in low quality. Like, that's 6 megabits isn't anything.
Okay.
Okay, so this is an article from Ars Technica, and the FCC chairman Tom Wheeler today is proposing to raise the definition of broadband from 4. Okay, so apparently it's not 6, it's 4 downstream and 1 upstream to 25 up. 25 down and 3 up. So that's an increase of, let's see, what's 4 times whatever equals 25? That's a big jump. 6 times the increase in speed. So and that's again part of the annual broadband progress report. The FCC has to determine whether broadband, quote, is being deployed to all Americans in a reasonable and timely fashion. And they find that the broadband is not being deployed to all Americans in a timely fashion, especially in rural areas or on tribal lands and in U.S. territories, where we have plenty of people that message the show. They want to know their options when it comes to internet, because if you live out on a dirt road, if you live somewhere where you're not, you don't have a house right on your left or right on your right, odds are you don't have good internet. You have dial-up if you're lucky, or you have to pay a couple thousands of dollars just to get them to run a line out to your house. You really don't have a choice.
Yes.
So the FCC, they're kind of drudging up the past, which is the Telecommunications Act of 1996, and that's when taxpayers, not me because I was paying taxes because I was about 5 years old, but all of you lovely older people, paid somewhere in the neighborhood of $400 billion for all of the telecommunications company to rig up the entire continental U.S. with high-speed internet. And, they've failed miserably every benchmark up until now. And even continuing now. So they're really pushing for this, the new definition of broadband, which is again 25 down and 3 up, rather than 4 down and 1 up. So
You think that's fast enough to satisfy most people?
I mean, it's 25 ain't bad. It's not. I mean, when you hear from South Korea, you hear what they're saying about their gigabit internet speed, or you hear Google with their Google Fiber, and they have 1 gig internet speed. You hear some stuff in the research and development field where they're running 10 gigs, if not 100 gigs. I mean, these speeds, they've increased dramatically, but the average consumer, I don't think, has seen a return on those speeds, because what you see in the laboratory and what's actually implemented by your ISP are completely different things. And it's been sluggish until now. I think now they're finally going to start pushing for faster and faster. And 25 is a good start, but it's nowhere near the top end. I mean, Craig, yourself, you're running 100 megabits per second down, and that's pretty good. It's not top tier, but it's good. 25 minimum is completely doable, and I'm surprised it hasn't been, that hasn't been the state of the industry for the past 5-10 years.
25 down and how much up?
3.
Wait, 3 megabit. Okay. See, I'm 100 down, but only 6 up. So there's a discrepancy.
And it's with these larger networks, Comcast, Charter, Verizon, whoever your ISP is, AT&T, whatever your ISP is, when you have so many people, when you have a couple million people uploading information, you cannot handle information coming in as fast as it's going out. It's just not possible. If you had, a million people uploading 10 megabits, is completely different than 100 people downloading 10 megabits. It's it's completely different. So when you have these larger networks, you get these lower upload speeds. But when you're on smaller networks, say your Google Fiber, or even some states and counties actually have their own internet speed, that's when you start seeing these up and down that are equal. Google Fiber is 1 gig down as well as 1 gig up. They don't have the handicap of upload speed. So it's just the fact that they're so big, they don't want you uploading as fast as you can download, because that's when people start using their homes as servers, which they don't want. You have to pay for a business style contract for that.
Yeah, a lot of them do that, and a lot of them do that. Even Charter has that. I was surprised to get that 100 megabits for in a residential area, but they are offering it. It's been a while since I checked with the plans and see what other plans they have. Maybe.
I mean, especially now that the FCC is really getting on them to increase their speeds.
Yeah.
It's I mean, I know just where I live down in South Florida, they when I first looked around, they only had maximum of 16 gigs down, or 16 megabits download. Mm-hmm. And when I just called back and said, hey, I'm paying too much for a service that's way inferior to what I should be getting, they said, oh, really? Well, it turns out in your area, you have 50 megabits available download. And that was over the course of like 2 years. So it more than tripled in 2 years. So if you haven't looked at your internet plan in the past couple of years, you really need to do that.
I think I've been motivated. I'm going to do that again, because it's very true. Until you say something or perk up, they
are more than happy to give you the lower speed for a higher price.
They will not tell you whatsoever. It's terrible. You have to actually call, and it's like that with anything. It's like even with mobile plans. Your cell phone. I mean, whatever it is, you need to call and keep inquiring. Otherwise, they're not going to volunteer the information at all.
No, they love providing you no extra service but charging you more. That's how they make. I mean, AT&T alone, they make untold hundreds of millions of dollars from people who steal from And let's face it, it's the elderly community who still use dial-up, just because they think they can't get internet unless they have dial-up, and they pay for it. So it's don't be stuck in that position where you're just not looking because you don't want to be bothered. Yep. It really does help you. And just to wrap up this article, there's a few statistics I thought we'd go over. First one, 53% of rural Americans, rural Americans, that's 22 million people, lack access to 25 megabits per second. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to help the 22 million Americans who, again, it's America. It's not like we're trying to run this somewhere crazy. It's just the people who don't have access to good internet. 55 million Americans, or 17%, lack access to 25 megabits per second. So that's just 55 million Americans who don't live in rural areas. They just, for some reason, they don't want to run the cable. They don't have access to this or that. They just don't have access to it. Apparently, the rural Americans demanded the service at the same rate as urban counterparts, where and 28% have adopted it. So obviously they want it. It's just when you get the bill or when you get a letter saying thank you for your interest in AT&T, but unless you're going to pay us the connection fee of $10,000 to run a cable out to your house, you're not going to get it. That's the part that's unacceptable to the FCC.
And it's utilities that don't do that. If you can show, if you want gas in your area and you're on buildable land, then I think there's something where they have to get that line to you. They're obligated to. I mean, there's a.
But internet is not run like a utility.
That's right. And they're trying to get it to run like a utility.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with the open internet, the free internet, or what have you. Net neutrality is turned into a utility. People need it.
That's it. It's becoming just as important as any of the other utilities you get: power, gas, water. Well, we're living in interesting times.
But no, but it's good. So the FCC, they're pushing 25 megabits per second for all internet users in America.
Yeah. Well,
it's good.
It is. Hopefully, it'll happen. Okay. Who's in the news? Intel is in the news today. Yeah, exactly. This is according to Maximum PC. Intel is a $149 compute stick. That's right. It's called the compute stick, and it turns your TV into a Windows 8.1 device. So this is not like the Chromecast or something. But basically you
turn your whole computer, your whole TV into a computer.
Right. You turn an HDMI display, any TV that's an HDMI display, and most all TVs today are, into a Windows 8.1 PC. So Intel already used the Consumer Electronics Show as a platform to introduce its newest 5th generation Core microarchitecture 14 nanometer Broadwell. But that's not all it wanted to show off. On a somewhat smaller scale, again, this is from the Consumer Electronics Show, Intel today introduced its compute stick. Now, this is a $149 dongle that turns your HDMI display, your TV, into a low-power Windows 8.1 PC. And though it may seem similar to media streaming devices like Amazon's Fire TV Stick, you can do more with Intel's device. Now, to get this, the compute stick is powered by an Intel Atom Z3735F Bay Trail quad-core processor, at least for now. A future version could come with a Core M CPU inside. There are two versions, one that comes pre-installed with Windows 8.1 and includes 2 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of flash storage, and a Linux variant with 1 gig of RAM and 8 gigs of storage. The Linux version runs $89. It's even in devices it's less expensive. Both come with a micro SD card slot to add more storage space, and both also sport a full-size USB port, micro USB, Bluetooth 4.0, and 802.11n Wi-Fi. It's all in this device. This is amazing. There's enough power here for light productivity work, surfing the web, streaming media, and more. Now, whether or not it proves popular, we'll have to wait and see. It's scheduled to be available in March. And when we have Intel on the show, maybe we can get them to talk a little bit more about this.
I'm sure. Intel's been in the news lately, but this is one of the cooler things they're doing.
Yeah, it is, exactly. And they just announced this at CES, so we thought we would let you know about it. So if you're interested in turning your TV into a Windows 8.1 PC, this might be something of interest to you. Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Next up. I should have been looking for a story. How about this one? This one is about computer games, but the fact that this made the news is that they are not state-of-the-art computer games. They're not games that are quadruple A, but it's important that they're all free.
Okay.
So over 2,300 Microsoft DOS games, yes, DOS, now completely free to play at Internet Archive.
Really?
That's a lot of games. So in 2013, the Internet Archive kicked off a major effort to store and host hundreds of classic video games for free play via your web browser. And as of late 2014 edition of Classic Arcade Games, the site's software library exploded over the final week of 2014 with its biggest update yet. 2,334 Microsoft DOS games,
Wow.
all playable through your standard browser.
Wow. DOS.
You don't need an Atari console. You don't need to go out and get your other antique video game console. It's all available through Internet Explorer, any kind of modern browser that you could be using. So some of the games will still fall over and die. This is the longtime IA Internet Archive curator Jason Scott. But our cursory test, and this is again written by Ars Technica, but the cursory tests have shown off remarkable functional MS-DOS games in your web browser. They all run via the M-DOSBox emulator, an offshoot of the same emulator that powers many antiques sold at archival game sites like GOG. Keep that mute button handy as we encountered some awful sound emulation quirks in classics like Jazz Jackrabbit, but thankfully the game's speed and functionality remained intact. So, if you ever wanted to go out, go back and check out the old Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Street Fighter 2, there are tons of games in here that, you may remember playing, but you just don't have the console for it anymore. Check it out.
They had the pinball construction set. I remember that. That was that was Electronic Arts, classic pinball. You could actually build your own pinball machine with it. I remember that one. So they have some oldies but goodies, and they'll run as long as you have a browser. You should be able to play any of these games on any platform.
And again, don't expect anything modern of these things, but they are intact at the Internet Archive in all their glory.
Well, the pinball construction set was pretty good, as I recall. I mean, it was a good game.
Again, anything that came out back in 1992 ain't great. There are now, as of this last update, there are now 2,370 games for you to browse through. All of them free, all of them playable.
I think that's very cool.
I mean, that's the point of the Internet Archive and sometimes you forget the Internet Archive is a private, institution kind of deal, but this is a great addition.
Okay.
Computer games is a huge part of what made Internet, successful.
Yep.
Or at least, spread quicker.
Yeah. Well, this next story is again from CES 2015, and again we're going to have ongoing. Sporadic, but certainly ongoing coverage of CES. We're going to have Sandy Berger here next week, who has spent most of her time out at CES. We're going to have Grayson Hamilton talking games at CES. We're going to have a lot of more CES coverage throughout the next week as well. However, this next story, again from Paul Lilly, Maximum PC, it's a CES 2015 story. Razer announces Forge TV. This is a $100 Android-powered game console. All right, yet another game console. And according to him, it's another attempt to get Android in the living room. He says you can always count on Razer to introduce a surprise product or two every year at the Consumer Electronics Show, and last year it was Project Christine, a modular PC concept that may one day become an actual consumer product. And this year, Well, Razer has multiple items on tap, including Forge TV, which it describes as a high-performance Android TV microconsole with a lofty goal. That lofty goal is to bring hardcore PC gaming and Android gaming into the living room through a new gaming ecosystem. Now, the ecosystem in question consists of the following parts: the Razer Forge TV microconsole, the Razer Cortex, which is a Stream, a proprietary streaming technology that's hardware agnostic and DX9 or higher compatible. Razer Serval, that's a console-style Bluetooth gaming controller. And Razer Turret, which is wireless living room gaming mouse and lapboard. Okay. Now, Razer Forge TV is a device that is able to bring together the most popular elements of an entertainment center, again, according to Razer. It powers popular music and movie apps and plays Android TV games that an entire family can enjoy. For the hardcore gaming audience, it will bring PC gaming to the couch. Razer Forge TV is what we see as the future of consoles. So they're thumbing their nose at Xbox One and PlayStation 4. They want to say, yep, you have yet another alternative here. The Forge TV is the main component here, and it consists of a Qualcomm Snapdragon 805 quad-core Crate 4050 CPU clocked at 2.5 gigahertz. There's a whole bunch of specs here. It's got Bluetooth, HDMI.
What's the speed? What's the processor speed?
16 gigabytes of built-in storage. 2.5 gigahertz clocked.
Not bad. Not bad. Not top of the line, but I mean, for what this is going to be, which is obviously going to be some kind of Android, gaming platform.
Yeah.
Don't expect a crazy, high power game. But for Android games, I mean, yeah.
Okay. All right.
They'll do it.
Well, in addition to gaming on the Forge TV, users will have access to other types of apps and will be able to interact with the console through their mobile devices, including iOS, Android, Chromebook, Windows, and more. Forge TV will be available in the first quarter for $100 or $150 bundled with a Serval controller, which means it's very competitive compared to what you'd spend for you.
They say it's really competitive, but really their main competitor is oddly enough going to be the Wii U. And even though everyone kind of dismisses the Wii U out of hand because it's, the spec-wise, it's closer to an Xbox 360 or a PlayStation 3. So therefore it does not compete with the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4. The Wii U, the Wii U for its market does very well.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to overcome, their big hurdle is overcoming the Wii U, which might not happen.
I bet you Grayson's getting some hands-on with this out at CES. Well, we have to remember to ask him about this Forge TV and see what he thinks.
I'm sure he was out there enjoying all the gaming peripherals and all the gaming stuff. I mean, Razer, for anyone who knows of their stuff, they've recently gotten into making gaming PCs. But as far as Razer, their peripherals are some of the best.
There you
especially for gamers. They're some of the best. So they're trying to branch out. Will it work? Maybe.
Well, I'd be curious to see what he says. If you remember what next week to ask him about Forge TV, make a little mental note or make a note to ask him.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Okay. We have time for one more story you can get in.
Yeah, one more quick one. And this is a pretty quick one. This one is, now, for some reason, Craig and his wife / my mother, they're against projectors for some reason. I don't know why. They're a great way to get that large screen without having to have that large screen. I mean, the entire wall of your entertainment room could be your TV screen with a projector. They're amazing. They're perfect. So, this is a new product. This one from Sony, and it's a new 4K projectors. Choose between cheap or lasers. So, sure, we could spend all day at Engadget. Sure, we can spend all day at CES checking out ridiculously large UHD TVs, but if you want to max out your home theater, then a projector is the only way to go. Thank you. Luckily, Sony has two fresh choices at CES 2015 if you can afford them. First up is a VPL VW350ES, rolls off the tongue, which qualifies as the value option by bringing its 4K capabilities for under 10 grand.
Wow.
Hardly cheap, but until now the cheapest option has been up to 15K, the VPL VW600ES. On the opposite end of the spectrum is the laser-powered VPL GTZ1. Again, very easy to remember, GTZ1. We saw it last year as part of the LifeSpace UX concept, but for the last few months, New York's well-heeled customers have been able to pick one up for 50 grand. Wow. So naturally, Sony brought two of them to CES, showing off their ultra-short throw ability to beam a 4K image on a wall from just a few inches away. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
So perhaps the perfect choice for someone with more money than space. We will sadly have to pass taking on either one of them home for now, though. The short throw ability sounds really cool, because if you think projector, sometimes you think, okay, movie projector, you got a long room, it's at one end of the room, and it throws a picture on the other side.
Yeah.
The short throw, apparently, it can be up to a foot away from the wall that you want to project on, and it will actually shoot it more down than forward.
That actually makes a lot of sense because that way. Where your TV would normally be, you have this little small box, and it's actually, even though it's close to the wall, it can put up the entire image. It actually makes a lot of sense.
Technically, it wouldn't be where your TV would be; it would be on the ceiling, because most of these are ceiling mounted.
Ceiling mounted. Okay, still having it that close would be nice.
And also, from that close, you're getting into the thing where so you don't get into that mystery science theater 3000.
Yeah.
Where you see the silhouettes of people on the screen.
Yeah.
If it's right up against the wall, it's going to be really hard to walk in front of it.
Yes, that's very true.
So, it's I've seen the picture on these things. They buy a special reflective paint. You can paint your walls, and the image quality is as good as any TV you could imagine.
Well, you mentioned that there you can buy I think even you can get it at Home Depot or something. It's a special paint that has little mini reflective components in it. So you paint the wall with this stuff, and then you get a really brilliant. The picture against a white wall will be brilliant, but if you use this special paint, this projection paint, the image will be that much more brilliant to look at.
Yep.
So,
and again, at $10,000, that's a nice TV.
Yeah, very nice.
So it's not exactly it's probably price competitive, but it's not cheap.
No.
So don't think it's it just because it's cheaper doesn't mean it's cheap. But projectors, they definitely serve a purpose.
Well, you get that bigger screen. You would have to buy yourself a 100 inch.
Yeah, like 100-inch, instead for what, 35, 40 grand.
Yeah, you can buy
a small projector.
Yeah, exactly, and you'll get very close to the same, and in that, it is certainly a viable alternative. All right, listen, you're listening to the Computer America Show on the Boost Radio Network, on the IRN Radio Network, and on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Ben and I are doing computer and technology news, brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. We got another news tips bulletin review from Marty Winston coming up. What do you think of the introductions? He says, I thought they were very clever this week.
No, they're good. They're good.
They are good, and I like that one about the coffee machine. I'm going to actually check into that because I know your mom really loves coffee. I like coffee too, so it might be something to consider our next coffee maker, because right now we have the Keurig. But anyway, we have more news stories, including a closer look at Dish's Sling TV service that's introduced out at CES. We'll take a closer look at that. But we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with another half hour of Computer America. So stay with us. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission is to protect and enhance the lives of companion animals and the people who love them. Their no-kill rescue shelter is open year-round, making it easy for people to adopt their best new friend. This year, Brother Wolf will find homes for over 2,400 orphan dogs, puppies, cats, and kittens. All have ended up as an orphan through no fault of their own. Brother Wolf has created a safe, nurturing environment where these special animals can heal emotionally and physically until they find a lifelong home. Their life-saving transport program brings dogs and puppies from overcrowded shelters in the south to rescues in the north where homes are easier to find. Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is a 501c3 organization. To learn more about their life-saving work and to make a donation, visit their website at www.bwar.org. That's www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-866-663-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So, disable the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and up to 4 rooms. And there's no equipment to buy. That includes your free HD TV upgrade, your free DVR upgrade, and your free professional installation. And the best part, the pristine digital picture and sound. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. So, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. 1-866-663-MY-TV. Disable the cable, cut costs, and get more. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. 1-866-663-MY-TV.
Happy to see you. It's Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America of the Jill E. Just Silwax laptop bag. Jill E. Designs bags are an admitted favorite here for how well and elegantly they accommodate our tech and other cargo. Their Just Silwax 15-inch laptop bag sports 2 zip-top 7-inch by 6-inch pockets up front and inside an arsenal of carry conveniences. A zip-to-open frontal pouch offers a handy place to stash tissues or vitamins or trade show badges, for example. Under its zipper are 2 pen-sized sleeves, a 3-finger-wide pocket, and a 4-finger-wide pocket. Pack whatever else you want in the 2 to 3-inch depth of its main chamber space. Behind it and forward of a padded divider is a pouch that can fit a 10-inch class tablet, and on the other side of the divider, a perfect place for a notebook, both secured by a Velcro-attached top strap. Close the main compartment, and there's still a zipper over compartment big enough to hold documents or magazines, remember those? Plus a second, slightly narrower zipper at the bottom to let you slide what you need in or out in tight spaces like airline seats. On one side, a zipper chamber opens to a neck that can hold either a water bottle or sunglasses, depending on your need. Bottom line, the Jill E. Designs Just Silwax 15-inch laptop bag straps a lot of happy over your shoulder. This is Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
For Computer America. I like how he says that. Yeah. Welcome back to the Computer America Show. 34 minutes past the hour.
I thought he was going to say, Happy New Year. He didn't do that.
Nope. So, 34 minutes past the hour, we are doing computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities. We're kind of jumping all over the way because when you get closer to these conventions, all of the news that comes out is generally focused around it. And CES is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in terms of tech. Maybe the one in Taipei. I keep wanting to say XCOM, but it's not it. Whichever the one in Taipei might be bigger, but CES is definitely a big one, so a lot of stories are coming out from there. But Craig, I believe it's your turn to do a story.
Yes, it is, and this is from Engadget. They're taking a closer look at Dish's Sling TV service. We talked a little bit about this yesterday with Sandy Berger, talking about these new services. And she's going to give us more of an update when she gets back next week. But if you've been looking to give cable the boot, Dish's announcement of a $20 a month service that brings you TV channels over the internet may be the most exciting news of CES. Wow. Sling TV doesn't quite have the robust network lineup as Comcast, Time Warner's, and others, but big names like ESPN, CNN, TNT, TBS, the Food Network, and many more have signed on, around 200 total actually, which is no surprise because, basically it's like any other broadcast other network. They want the more exposure, the better. That's the game. These cable companies don't have exclusivity with these things, and I would think that these things they're going to go to as many different outlets as possible, and this is to be expected. Now,
maybe, but I think it's the technology that's going to spread, not so much Sling. It's just like TiVo, where I think Dish might have been the one that had TiVo.
Yes,
but but the TiVo technology didn't stay with TiVo for long.
Well, Dish does not. Actually, they have the Kangaroo.
Yeah, they have the Hopper. No.
The Hopper. Yeah, that's right.
Who had TiVo? So, someone had TiVo.
Yeah, well, DirecTV had TiVo for a while, but then they signed up. I'm not sure who has it now. Anyway, according to the story, what's more, the subscription includes a movie rental feature and will be available on a handful of smart TVs, Roku players, Amazon Fire TV and Fire Stick, Xbox One, Nexus Player, Android TV, and both Android and iOS mobile platforms when it arrives later this year. That means if you already are itching to opt in, it won't be too difficult to find a compatible device. Jump past the break for a quick walkthrough of the interface and for all the details. Okay, so that's basically what they're reporting on. So, and again, Sandy Berger will be here next week, and we'll report even more on this story.
Yeah, no, it's just that they're trying to get back at the cord cutters. It's good that they're not just trying to ignore them and hope for the best and hope they all come back.
Nope.
So
they are. They're going.
Hopefully, this is for I think the end of last year they had HBO jumping ship. Well, not jumping ship, but offering just HBO without the cable subscription. Yep. Which was a huge breakthrough, and this is another one. Hopefully, eventually, soon, a la carte, pay what you want. Maybe you don't need what's on channel 383, but you just love Animal Planet, so you can just buy Animal Planet, and who gives a crap about what's on 383?
Right, they have DIY, they've got the Cartoon Network, the ABC Family Channel, HGTV is on here, so you got a lot of great selections.
Yep. Which personally, I just need cartoons, so it's
Cartoon Network, exactly.
Good choice.
And you'd be happy with that, exactly. I understand.
Who wouldn't? All right, so how about this one? This one is from Mercedes-Benz. You may know them as they make cars sometimes. They do. And they just at CES, they showed off their future of cars. And guess what?
There's no driver.
It looks like a piece of soap. It looks like a bar of soap. It's not, when you think sexy, you don't think what this concept car is. So Mercedes-Benz rolled into CES with its F015 Luxury in Motion concept.
It does look like a bar
emphasis on concept. Yes, it does.
No, it does not. It looks like a sleek car with windows that you can't see through.
The windows are completely electronic. Mm-hmm. So, on the inside you'll have your LED monitors and whatnot to show you what's outside of them. Mm-hmm. But from the outside looking in, it looks pretty much like a bar of soap.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick to that one.
Okay.
So the car appears way down the road at an autonomous future in which it seems cars look like bars of soap, thank you, article, on the outside and sleek, vaguely European conference rooms inside. But let's make two things clear right away. First, this concept car is so far from production as to be little more than a flight of fancy. Given the current state of autonomous tech, we'd guess it's probably 20 years from reality. Robo-cars are coming, but there are piles of problems to solve, from the technical to sorting out the myriad of safety and regulatory questions. There's also that not insignificant challenge of getting consumers to relinquish control of the wheel. Each of these things will take years to accomplish, in no small part because the feds and the auto industry aren't known for moving quickly. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest one there might just be getting people to let go of the wheel.
Yeah, that could be.
Some people like control. Mm-hmm. Craig?
Yes?
Nothing. Anyways, second, this car is ugly, which is a surprise given the general excellent design Mercedes is known for.
Not ugly. I disagree with this author. I think it's very cool looking.
I think it's ugly as well. So it's hard to believe the sliver of soap came from the same company that gave us the 300 SL Gullwing and even the SL 500.
I think you wrote this story. Go on.
Maybe I did. But, and by the way, if you click on those links, those are nice looking cars. This thing is, not so much. But I guess, when it's a prototype that's 20 years off in the future, it doesn't have to look like its final product might. So, still the car is remarkable because it shows Mercedes is thinking ahead and peering far into the future to a time when autonomous cars will fundamentally change how we design our vehicles. Once the computers are inarguably better drivers than we are, and regulations reflect that, long-standing norms like forward-facing seats, mirrors, and pedals are no longer necessary. It will be a seismic shift, and automakers will be free to pursue exciting, even revolutionary ideas. Google has embraced it with forward-thinking, though somewhat goofy, autonomous prototype we saw in May, and tuning house Rinspeed explored it last month in its Booty robotic EV concept. So, and again, the big thing there was when you don't need a driver in the front left or front right seat, depending on which area of the world you're from, you don't need a pedal, you don't need a steering wheel, you don't need this and that. You might for emergency situations, but for the most part, why not have the seats swivel, turn around, and face your passengers in the back seat? Do whatever you want. Why not have them convert to a bed? Why not do this, that, and the other? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The everything that the car was designed around is no longer necessary. So really, even though this car looks like a bar on wheel, like a bar of soap on wheels, it should be. It should be a giant box that goes down, and it's like a little waiting room that you step into it, you wait around for 4 or 5 hours, and you step out of it, and you are in a completely different location. Like, that should be the extent of cars in the future. So, they have here Dr. Dieter Zetsche noted in his presentation Monday night, the vehicle is controlled through hand gestures, eye tracking, and touchscreens. Everything has LEDs. The car senses a pedestrian ahead. It can project a crosswalk onto the ground. The car is growing beyond its role as a mere means of transport and will ultimately become a mobile living space. So yes, it will be many years before Mercedes makes a car that looks anything like the F015, but the German automaker is well on its way toward that day, developing a highway pilot system for its trucks and plans for some level of autonomous tech in its sedan by 2020. Those are the kinds of projects that will advance this technology and let us daydream about spending our retirement being whisked around in a sleek sedan with spinning seats and hardwood floors. That is the goal, is to have these cars, not just be transports, but have them be little living spaces where if you wanted to work on your project on your way to work, you hop in your car, you say where you want to go, and then you turn it into work mode, and then, your work computer comes up, you sit down in your car, and I know it sucks to read in a car. Sometimes some people get motion sickness, but it wouldn't be that far-fetched for people to sit down and work on that project, get some work done on your way to work.
Yeah.
Which, if it takes you an hour to get to wherever you're going,
yeah,
that's an hour you don't have to spend in the office. That's an hour you can,
Or when it's like when people take public transportation, so that they can just do work on while they're traveling, so they get to and from. They get some additional hours put in.
The point is, autonomous cars, they're coming, and they're maybe not coming fast, but I'm looking forward to them.
Okay, me too. Popular Science has an interesting. Now you've heard of the Internet of Things, right? Well, at CES again, the Internet of Pets. According to this story, a new technology connects Fluffy, that's your dog's name, to the cloud, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi. Okay? Now, it's called the Scout 5000, and while the Scout 5000 has all the GPS bells and whistles, it goes one step further. It's sort of like a GoPro for your dog, GoPro being the wearable camera. Okay? Well, this is like for your dog. It allows you to see what your dog is seeing. Now, so if your dog is visually impaired, you could be the seeing eye human for your dog. See how it kind of reverses itself?
You know, I love animals. I love my dog. I don't have the kind of time to direct it where to go. I'll just get another dog and strap it to it and have a seeing eye dog for your seeing eye dog. That seems more practical.
Okay. Well, evidently, the video from this device is live streamed to your phone, and if the dog is in a stressful situation, you can soothe him or her or give him or her commands like sit, stay, roll over, beg. The collar also has bark detection. Bark detection, which can notify you when the dog is being a little too rowdy. Bad dog. So there it is. You know, again, the Scout 5000, and evidently there's a lot of these the Internet of Pets going on at CES. It's a new breed of connected technology aims to boost your dog's health and safety and help them have a little bit of fun too. So there it is, and they're leading off with this Scout 5000, which I think is very, very cool. They also have the PetNet. It's a robotic food dispenser. Well, that's just nice, you know, because I have to feed my dogs twice a day, and I have to go and take the bowls up, and wouldn't it be nice just to have a little robotic pet dispenser, and they can all eat from that?
What, dispenses a new pet for you?
No, the food.
Oh.
The PetNet is a robotic food.
I misinterpreted a pet dispenser.
Yes, it's a pet food dispenser. It dispenses food robotically.
I gotcha.
You can schedule feedings and make sure your pooch isn't eating more than they are supposed to be eating. Okay, so that's another product that they are showing out at CES. But they have a number of them. There's a.
I'm all for technology, and it can make so many things so easy, but there has to be a point where you can automate things, but where are you going to let technology go? Are you going to let technology raise your kids? Are you going to let technology, train your dogs? Are you going to let technology take care of your dogs? Like, what should you let technology do?
Well, here's another one. They called the Pet Cube. This is a part of the same story. This is a little Wi-Fi enabled box that lets you spy on your pet when you're out of the house. But Pet Cube has a camera that provides you with a live feed, and get this, it has a built-in laser that lets you play with or torment your pet from afar. So it puts a little laser dot on the floor, and you can move around. And also, if your pet is acting up, you have a microphone. You can scold them remotely through Pet Cube. Then they have something called Tag GPS Plus. So you can know where your pet is at all times with the Tag GPS Plus. You attach it to a collar for activity tracking, GPS, and even temperature sensing. It pairs with an app that keeps you posted whether your dog is trying to escape or if your dog's overheating during the summer. And so these are a number of pet items that they're showing off. I thought the Pet Cube was actually very cute. Yeah. Anyway, that's some of the offerings coming from CES.
I think it's that thing that Sandy Berger was talking to us about last night, where computer chips are so cheap, they're so small, you can put them in anything. Yep. We're in that magical zone where just because you can put them in everything, let's throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. Yeah. And Craig, you were poo-pooing a toaster that you could text or a crock pot that you could text.
Yeah.
And this is a pet you can text.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I still think it's cute, more so than the crock pot.
You don't know. Crock pots can be cute. They make little cozies for them. They're adorable. Crock pot cozies. That's not easy. Okay. I was gonna do this one about the motorcycle, but the point is, DARPA comes out with a very quiet motorcycle. It's coming. Keep an eye out for that if you enjoy motorcycles and you actually like your neighbors. How about this one? This one kind of piggybacks onto the story we just did about Mercedes.
Yeah.
This is a self-driving car from Audi.
Mm-hmm.
It's an Audi A7.
Nice.
So, and the author of this actually drove, this is gonna be hard.
Mm-hmm.
He actually rode 500 miles in a self-driving car and saw the future. And he said it's delightfully dull. So he was a few hours outside of L.A. tooling down the I-5 at the wheel of a slack Audi A7 in a gorgeous day when a little girl in an SUV smiled and waved. I waved back with both hands. This immediately freaked her out, and she jumped up and down. All I could do was laugh, knowing my vigorous wave was in no way a safety hazard. In fact, I hadn't touched the steering wheel in more than an hour. That's funny. So what that little girl didn't know, despite the stickers on the car, was that I was piloting Audi's latest autonomous vehicle, a prototype designed specifically to handle the monotony of highway driving. The driving was not nearly so difficult as the preparation, an arduous task that required a day of training in Arizona, a ream of paperwork, and a little bureaucratic wrangling that resulted in the great state of California issuing me a license to operate an autonomous vehicle.
Wow.
Yep. So, it's actually a rather long article, very well written.
Yeah.
But if you are intrigued at what it's like to drive to ride in an autonomous vehicle, you should definitely check it out. This one from Wired.
Yeah, they actually have a video you can watch. Yeah. So it is actually kind of interesting.
Yep. And they actually popped the trunk on this thing. It turns out the Audi A7's trunk holds 8 PCs, which will be condensed into one unit the size of an iPad for the consumer version.
Wow. Yeah, because right now it's an experimental stage.
Yeah, very experimental. So for anyone, by the way, who hasn't seen the license plate for a self-driving car, they're bright red. You're gonna pick these things out very easily.
Yeah.
So it's not you're not gonna be questioning, is this a self-driving car? Is this not? Right. They're going to make it very clear off the bat that it will be a self-driving car. And again, he said it was dull. He said it was boring.
Well, after the novelty of it wore off, then he didn't have anything else to do. He couldn't turn the chair around like in that Mercedes concept car. He still had to be facing the front, and so that was it.
Well, yeah, and that's the point, is once the user is no longer needed, you can do whatever you want. And right now, cars are designed to be cars, and you're just sitting in the same seat staring ahead doing nothing.
Nothing.
So, bring a book.
Yeah, exactly. Read something or watch a movie or something.
Bring a book, bring an iPad, watch a movie, whatever it is one does in a self-driving car.
Yes, exactly. But you would take on a train trip or a plane
flight. I really want to see cars tackle this whole autonomous driving thing in the confines of a highway. Because a highway, especially here in America, highways are very standard. Admittedly, there's a lot of construction going on lately, but they're very standard. There's no sharp turns, there's no stopping, there's no red lights. There should be no one running across the road. It should just be, stay in your lane, go the speed limit, wait 5 hours. Very simple. So I'm looking forward to the day when you can go out and you can buy a car that takes the highways on their own. As someone who very much has to drive 10 hours on a regular basis on the highways.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this obviously can make long trips easier. I mean, you could go to sleep, and not worry about it.
I think right now they're avoiding the sleeping part, especially if a cruiser, a police cruiser pulls up next to you and you're conked out, snoring in the driver's seat. He might chastise you a bit, but definitely you could pull your attention away from the car.
Yeah. Wow. Someone in the chat room didn't know that we were out at CES.
Yeah, go check out the January 6th show. In case you're listening to this and you don't know what show it is, the January 6th show. Craig and I ourselves were not out at CES, but we had Charles Tindall out there. Mm-hmm. He was holding down the fort for us, and he had on a couple interviews from a couple companies. Grayson Hamilton and many of our regular correspondents were out there. They said hi and dropped by. And, it was a very interesting show.
Charles Tindall is the certified ethical hacker. He anchored. We were at the Showstoppers event. We were on stage there. We had the backdrop, and it was a lot of fun. He was the one that was at CES. He was anchoring out there. And you can see it again. You can go to our archives page at computeramerica.com, and you can watch the video, or you can listen to the audio. It's yesterday's show was a Tuesday program, which is January the 6th, and it's there. Okay. All right. So I think we have time for one more story here, real quickly. Oh, by the way, I really should mention that our Computer America contest is in full swing. And if you haven't checked out our contest, please do so. Go to our contest page. It's right there under the Interact menu. You'll see Enter Contest. We have our Logitech contest and our Show Reminder Winner contest. And again, if you are not getting our Show Reminder, we switched to a new service this week, and we have a brand new, a much nicer looking Show Reminder newsletter. And if for some reason you didn't get it, one of two things. Make sure that you didn't go, because it comes from a different provider, make sure it didn't go into your junk mail or spam filter. Took it out. Make sure check that. And if it isn't, then you need to re-register. Just go to the Show Reminder contest. There's a subscribe button. You put your email address and your first and your last name. Click the subscribe button. It'll ask you to send it'll confirm with a confirmation email, and then you're in, and then you'll be in our weekly drawing. So and another good thing is, if you're not sure, just try to subscribe with the email address, and if you are already subscribed, it will tell you that you're already subscribed. You know,
we don't do duplicates.
You don't need it won't let you duplicate. If you're in there, it'll let you know, so that's fine. But also check out our Logitech contest. We got 3 great prizes. That's finishing next week on January the 16th. We'll close that one out. We've got the 3 great prizes there. The Logitech X300 mobile wireless stereo speaker system. You get to pick the color. It's valued at $70. We have the Logitech G400S optical gaming mouse, and of course the Logitech HD webcam C310 is the 3rd prize. And you can now register online. You don't have to send us an email anymore. Your contest entry form is right there. You just fill it in, hit the submit button, and you're entered. It's just that simple. So check out all of our contests. Enter in all of them. You'll have a lot of fun doing so, and who knows, you might win something really, really nice. Just check out all of our contests. Yes?
I hope one of our correspondents was able to go out and check out the home automation, because home automation apparently made a really big impact out there at CES, and we haven't talked about it. So.
And we haven't. Well, you know, Sandy will certainly fill us in.
Maybe.
Yeah, she's
big into, you know, the gadgets that people use. So of course she went out there. I'm sure she saw plenty of the Slingbox, plenty of the phones, plenty of the tablets, that kind of thing. It's just home automation is a category unto itself.
Yeah, and they do have them out there, and I'm sure that's part of the Internet of Things that she was talking about too. Home automation, you know, accessing all these devices now. Remotely is one of the big things to the home automation. So you can turn your oven
90 seconds.
Turn your oven on in advance, so it'll be warm when you're ready to cook your meals. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do, and a lot of them are now being reflected there. So anyway, that about wraps up the show. We didn't get to the new LAPD tasers, but maybe we'll get to those next time. Maybe tomorrow. There's some other good stories that we didn't get a chance to do. But again, I want to thank all of you so much for being with us here.
60 seconds.
On Computer America. And again, we're starting off the new year right. Tomorrow night, who do we got on the show? Well, in the first hour, we're going to have Typeform is going to be joining us. This is for people who, any kind of a registration form, filling in forms. We actually use Typeform ourselves for a guest registration. It's a really cool service that's free. You know, initially you can add more features if you want to, but we're going to have them on in the first hour. And then in hour 2, we're going to have more computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. Thank you all so much for being with us here tonight, and Ben and I will see you tomorrow night. So until tomorrow night, this is Craig Crossman, hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you.
Good night. Good night.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, and again, thanks everybody watching us on our live streaming page, and we'll see you tomorrow night with Typeform. Bye, everybody. We'll see you.
Good night.
Good night.